Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Telling Tales. Here we tell atmospheric stories together using role playing games as our medium. Joining me this evening, as well as our players, will be our stream manager, Matt.
Hello.
Hi, Matt.
I definitely was on time and wasn't just clicking over in the chat to see a hype train thing happening.
Matt had a week off last week, and we had John stream managing for us instead.
Managing is not many people know that is the verb for it, but it
Yeah,
is.
and as wonderful as John was, we missed Matt.
Of course you did. How could you not miss?
If
this?
only we could have two stream managers.
Hey, you mock, but it could be arranged, Johnny.
Long may we dream.
As everyone knows, like Japanese fighting fish, if you put two stream managers in the same stream, they inevitably fight until one of them dies. So
let's try.
I mean, I'm up for it if John is. You know.
Bye, Matt.
Bye.
This evening, because it's a Monday, you will have me as your keeper running Call of Cthulhu for a number of unwitting participants. We have links below to all of our social media and our YouTube. If you are watching this on Twitch, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, then there is a link to our Twitch below, as well as the social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that usual stuff. There is also a link to our Discord, which you can join in some chats with the players and GMs and stream managers and everybody else involved with the channel, as well as other people who watch. And there is also a link to our Patreon, where you can donate money to help us keep going and get good gear and make good stories and things. And also one of the benefits to joining the Patreon is that you get access to bits of the Discord that you wouldn't otherwise get access to. So you can talk to us in more secretive tones. Other things that happen on this channel on Tuesday nights, we have Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition run by Matt, who you just saw pop up as the stream manager. On Wednesdays, there is Simba Room, which is a system from Free League, and that's run by Matt, who you just saw pop up as stream manager. And on the first Saturday of every month, there is a one-shot adventure, different GMs and players and systems each time. The next one is the 1st of May, and it is Fiasco, which is a GM-less role-playing game system, where things seem to be going okay and then go horribly wrong. Seems to be the main gist. I think Matt described it as like a Coen Brothers farce, essentially. He can jump in if I'm wrong or if I'm right, but I think that's basically right.
He's not wrong.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, now all that's out of the way, let's jump straight back in to where we left off from the cliffhanger of last week. So we'll have some players in to give recaps. So if Jack can come in first, please. Jack, who plays Melvin. Hi, Jack.
Hiya, you're right.
Yes, thank you. So the beginning of last week's session, there's Melvin. Can you tell us what occurred? It followed straight on from the one before, really.
Yeah, so at the end of the one before last session, we discovered the dirt on the doorstep and saw there was a recently dug grave and filled in grave in the graveyard at the church. So it sort of started off with everyone reacting to that, horrified, of course, because it's Call of Cthulhu, and that is the general reaction to have to most things in it, I think. And then Esther decided to take the dirt from the doorstep and chuck it into some flower beds near the memorial. And then after which, Melvin and Dr. Jemima went to the church to have another look inside at the sort of burial aisle where the Menzies family tend to be interred. Upon a closer inspection of the most recent one, Melvin sort of saw that there was a seam around the edge of the sort of stone, sort of suggesting it's not been put in place properly. Yeah, and then I don't think we discovered anything else within the church, did we? We couldn't quite really get any more information out of it other than it being shoddily put in.
Yeah. And then if we can bring Sam on, who plays Jemima, to give us the next, hi Sam, the next step of the Sandwich of Horror.
Sandwich of Horror. Oh, that should be the new title for this roleplay, I feel. Yeah, so then the thing that Jemima really wanted to go check out, although we were curious about the grave first, to check that, what's his name was actually buried inside the church as we were expecting, Menzies, the old Menzies, was to go outside and check the presumably freshly dug grave that maybe was related to the soil and had creeped us all out a lot. So me and Melvin went outside, and it was definitely freshly dug, and we couldn't really tell much more about it. There wasn't a headstone. It was in the graveyard as you'd expect otherwise. And we were kind of inspecting it and wondering what to think about it, not really sure. And then effectively, not sure whether he deliberately snuck up on us or it just kind of happened. It was Jacob Menzies, I think, was it?
Yeah.
The kind of inheritor, younger Menzies. He's still like an older guy, right? He's like middle-aged to kind of like 50s or something like that. Cool. So he suddenly approached behind us, made us all jump, introduced himself kind of rudely. And we kind of I kind of just scattered. I think Melvin asked how his day had been, which didn't go down too well, given that his dad literally died the other day. And we kind of walked off. And then just before I left, I asked, because I couldn't help myself, Jemima had to ask Mr. Menzies whether someone else had died. And he very threateningly said, not yet. And we proceeded. I think those were basically his words anyway. I can't.
Yeah.
And that freaked me out even more. And I ran back down to the pub and relayed that information to everyone else. Nice guy.
And not long after that, there was a phone call at the pub. If we could bring Skye on. Hello, Skye. Muted.
All right, I'm here. So we were in the pub and heard the phone go.
You'd become quite irate at Duncan, the barkeeper, by this point through your conversations.
Yeah, and he wasn't there either, so, nice play, the cat's away. So the phone was ringing, so Esther just kind of went to answer it, find out who was ringing. And the person on the other end sort of sounded a bit nervous and asked for Duncan Kilbride, the barkeep. And I said he wasn't there. And then he basically was just like, oh, never mind. And I tried to get him to stay, but he just hung up. So, yeah, it was kind of a mysterious phone call. And then we were trying to decide what to do with our creepy and mysterious day. Until I think we went outside and saw that there were footprints beneath the window that looks directly into the pub. So we kind of got the rather creepy impression that someone was staring in at us. And there were some kids playing in the snow nearby. So Esther went to sort of talk to them and just see if they could tell her who had been there. And the girl who was there told Esther that it had been her father who had been looking around the pub because she thinks he was looking for Mr. Kilbride. So we found out who the mysterious person was at least. Yeah, and then as we were going to go and find Mr. Kilbride, we found him coming up the street.
Mm-hmm. He then returned back to the pub with you and offered to make you some food. He then had Esther offered to help him with the food, and he goes sit down. Esther, I think, hoping that the group would be able to get some information out of him. And then I think if we could bring Matt on, who plays Dane. Hello.
Hey, Jonny.
So Dane kind of pushed him for a little bit of information, didn't he?
Yeah, not with a huge amount of success. Yeah, he was kind of evasive but pleasant in a classic Duncan fashion. He then, I think everything kind of gradually weren't really getting anywhere, and so Duncan decided to just kind of finish his meal, and then I think he was committing to go and look for Jimmy after we pressured him to find out when we might be able to leave. So he said he was going to go out and have a look for Jimmy in the town, and went to get his coat. And at that point, there was a knock on the door from the pub, and we were face to face with a priest again, which I think is the first time for a while that we've encountered the priest. Esther kind of immediately had a bit of a go at him, I suppose is probably the only thing I could describe it as, kind of asking what was going on, and he responded quite sinisterly to that, kind of saying something along the lines of no children of God are unwelcome here, to her suggestion that she wasn't welcome, which was nice and sinister. The priest then went into the back where I think Duncan was getting his coat, and they started having a conversation. We didn't really go and listen to it directly, but we could sort of tell that it wasn't heated, but it was quite a serious conversation. We were in the pub still getting a bit more irate, and Dane decided he wanted to kind of try and step in before the priest left so that we could question him. So sat by the door. Jemima gave him a drawing of the chalk cross to kind of take to him and ask what was going on. And at that point, the church bells decided to do their thing again, ringing sinisterly and sort of phasing in and out of what I can only presume is space and time and everything else, freaking everybody out. And then the kind of simultaneously, the priest just tore out of the back room, running out the door. Dane didn't react because he was sanity checked and scribbling. Ran out. Esther was sprinting after the priest. I think Jemima also ran out as well, and the village were coming out, dressing back again and heading to the church. And then I think we could see, or I guess Esther and Jemima could see at the church, Jacob Menzies at the door. So yeah, a lot happened quite quickly. I don't know if I missed anything, Jonny.
No, that was pretty bang on, actually. So let's pick up right there. Esther and Jemima are on their way to the church, following the priest, kind of passing through people heading towards the church as well. And the priest is ahead of you, and you see Jacob just kind of stood in the doorway of the pub, hands behind his back, just sort of looking out across the village.
The doorway of the church.
Yes.
Sorry. I think because we had a thing where Jemima was running, so she probably overtook Esther. Jemima sees Jacob in the doorway and immediately slows down to draw alongside Esther, and said, "What day of the week is it now? Do we know?"
This is Wednesday.
Okay, so damn, it's not Sunday. That's annoying. The only reason Jemima would be like, yeah, maybe I could go to church. I'll just stop alongside Esther and be like, that's him, Menzies.
That's him? That big man in the door?
Yeah. He, I don't think he'll let us in.
He won't let us in. Where is the priest at this point?
He's now passed through the gate and is going up the kind of rising path that goes up towards the church, through the churchyard.
Okay. Esther will sort of swing wildly around and just go, Where's Mr. Kilbride?
I guess he's still inside.
You hear from the church, "You're not needed today, priest. I'm just concerned about one of our flock going astray." And the
I think I'll give...
priest kind of skids to a halt in the snow on the path, and his body language is pretty tense anyway, but he does look kind of up, and he you can't see his face because he's looking forwards at Jacob, and sort of people are milling past you in their funeral attire.
I will kind of I'll kind of slow us down and then just nonchalantly just like see if I can listen / watch what happens while people are passing by.
I'll turn to Dr. Wallace and go, that was very weird.
He looked awkward at the funeral too, like he didn't fit in well, like he was uncomfortable about it in more than just it being a funeral. There's something between them, I think. Maybe the priest and the family or something. I don't know. Just like Duncan and what was the name of the family? The folks who were the guy who was coming to visit Duncan.
Yes, I don't know his name, but
he
yes,
stood
I know
out
who you're
too.
talking about.
Yeah. I'll look back up to see what's going on at the church. Does the priest look like he's walked off again, or back down, or said anything? Did we hear?
Do you want to make a listen roll?
Absolutely.
Can I make one? Or?
Yeah. If you're listening in, what are Melvin and Dane doing at this point? Are you still kind of shaking in the pub, or do you think you've pulled yourself together and have headed out, or?
Yeah, I pass.
Pass two.
I think Dane is just kind of staggered out a little bit out the door to kind of look at what's happening, but hasn't sort of pursued Esther and Jemima yet. He's still not quite recovered. But he hasn't kind of left the door, so I guess he's half a mind on Duncan as well.
I think Willie will have gone as far forward as the furthest of Dane and Melvin. So if Dane's kind of slightly outside, then Willie would be with you.
And then Melvin's probably slightly behind them, maybe a bit more in the pub or in the doorway than those two.
Okay. So Esther and Jemima, how much did you pass by? Was it like did you pass by a large margin, like half or a fifth, or was it just a standard pass?
I passed by quite a large margin. I have a 70 and I rolled a 40.
Oh, okay, good.
Mm-hmm. I got a 14 and it's a 20, so I think neither of us got a half then, did we?
Okay, cool. So you hear the after the initial line from Jacob, you hear the priest say, What do you mean? And then Jacob says, well, we can't have anybody going about traveling in this terrible weather, can we? Somebody might get hurt.
Okay.
And then the priest turns around to sort of look at the village.
Okay.
Does he seem to look at us?
No, he looks straight past you.
Okay.
I think Esther, again, hears that and feeling outraged again because she's fairly sure it implies that we're supposed to stay, starts hobbling towards them angrily with her stick.
Yeah, that's fair. I will follow Esther behind Esther.
Okay, so at the pub, Duncan comes out of the kitchen and says, "Oh, Mr. Caffey, sorry about all this strangeness this morning. Can I get you a drink?"
Sort of catch him a bit off guard because he's probably sort of watching what's going on in the distance quite intensely. Go, no, I'm fine. Did you not hear that?
I heard, but there's nothing I can do at the moment. The priest is taking care of it. People shouldn't be using the church bells without his say-so.
Just the bells? Nothing? Do they not sound odd to you?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay then. Is it? I'm guessing it's not usual for the bells to be going off as often as it seems then recently.
No. I can only imagine that perhaps Jacob is, a little worse for wear following his father's death.
Well, yes. Yeah, I think we might. Yeah, realised Ethel experienced the sharp end of that. But no, I'm fine for a drink. So
Very
everyone's
good.
sort of flocking towards the church, aren't they? Are they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and some of them seem to be sort of slowing in the village square. Nobody's got past the gate yet to go
Okay.
into the church.
I'll say, do you need to go to the church? It seems like a lot of people are
No.
heading there. If it's
No.
okay then.
If you'll
no,
excuse me, I'm going to make some tea. And he heads back into the back.
Okay.
Could Dane hear that, Jonny, do you think?
Can you make a listen roll? Normally I would say yes, but I think that you may be distracted by what's going on in the village and potentially not have picked up on it.
Okay, no problem. So I need a 20 or under. And I rolled a 97. Definitely did not hear that.
Your ears explode. No, they don't. So, yeah, you don't pick up on it. There's too much going on in the village distracting you. You probably also, you'll have heard Jacob shout something and you might be trying to listen into that from where you are as well. And there's just too much going on for you to have picked that up. So, Esther and Jemima, are you literally heading up towards the priest and Jacob again?
Towards the gate, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You go through the gate.
While this is happening, I'm kind of wondering who's there. Like, I'm kind of looking around at the other people who are heading up. And also I was wondering, has the priest been is he refusing to let him in the church while it seems like the other villagers are welcome? Is that basically what seems to be going on?
None of the villagers have got there for you to see if... So it's difficult for you to say whether it's an attempt, whether everybody's supposed to be going into the church or whether it's an attempt to sort of amass everyone for something.
Yeah.
Because nobody has actually gone into the church yet, and Jacob is not even in the church. So
Yeah. I guess I would kind of say to Esther, maybe we wait a sec. They might not be going in. They might be doing something else, Esther.
Shh. Just give me one moment.
Okay.
Esther will walk up and say, I assume when you say nobody will be traveling, you're referring to us?
No. You visitors are welcome to come and go as you please.
All right. That's good to know. Duncan told us that we'd be getting a lift out of here today with, I think, Jimmy.
That remains to be seen, but maybe. Duncan will do everything that he can to take good care of you.
Okay.
If he doesn't, you tell him that Jacob said to speak to him.
Thank you. I will. And I think Esther will turn away to Dr. Wallace and go, I don't think there's much more we can do here at this point.
The priest has been sort of distracted from his looking out across the village to kind of, tennis heading between you two as that conversation's been going on.
And I think I'll just turn to the priest and go, I hope I'll be seeing you later. I had some questions. Referring to art. And then I'll just go, Dr. Wallace, come on.
She's kind of hovering maybe like 5 or 10 feet behind, just like...
Okay. Are you heading back to the pub?
I wanted to remain outside to watch what happened, but I wasn't going to make it obvious that I was standing and staring. I was just going to mill in the square or something.
Okay. Is Esther doing the same?
Yeah, I think Esther will stick with Dr. Wallace.
Okay. you see but don't hear a bit more of an exchange between the priest and Jacob. At which point the priest kind of stands aside from the path and motions for Jacob to pass him away from the church. And Jacob kind of holds eyes with him for probably the longest 3 seconds that you've ever witnessed if you're paying attention. And Jacob then walks down the path and out of the gate and back into the square. And as he gets through the gate, he shouts, "False alarm, everybody. Back to your homes."
What?
And everybody begins to head back home.
What? Because that's like a really weird thing to have said about going to church. Is that like everyone's like, oh, okay, that's perfectly normal?
Yeah, nobody seems confused, particularly.
I'll just look at Esther, presumably like Dane, who's now here as well. I imagine if you came outside, I'd just be like, false alarm. If assuming that Jacob isn't right next to me, I'll say that anyway.
No.
Is there anyone, any of the villagers sort of close enough to us heading back that we might kind of stop them, ask them something, or are they heading off in a different direction?
Certainly. Yeah. Everybody's kind of in the square. You know, the square's probably, I don't know, like 40 feet square. So there's people passing relatively close by the door of the church.
So I think the next adult that comes past Dane is going to kind of step over and say, "Excuse me."
So this is an older woman, white-haired. She says, "Good morning."
Good morning. Sorry to stop you, but we heard it was a false alarm. What was it a false alarm for?
We think that young Menzies maybe wanted some kind of second funeral, perhaps. But maybe the priest has talked him around.
Has that happened before?
Only once in my lifetime. Very strange to do, but you don't want to be disrespectful to somebody the day after the father's passed, and the Menzies have been here a very long time. We like to. It's nice to keep tradition going and keep families going in the area,
No, that's understandable. You don't remember if the previous time was also a Menzies?
Oh, I'm afraid I couldn't say. I couldn't be sure.
Oh, thank you. Sorry to bother you.
No, of course.
So I don't know if the rest of the group heard that or not.
I imagine, unless you were trying to keep it secretive, we wouldn't have been far away. Probably would have heard it, I guess. I probably won't say anything. We'll just look around like.
So they didn't seem to think it was that strange.
Yeah.
Esther goes, this is just a very weird town. I think it's really getting to me. I think I'd better go in and have a cup of tea. Will you join me?
Okay, let's go inside.
We still need to speak to Duncan, so I think it's a good idea.
Was Melvin outside with us, or is he?
No, I think he's probably still
sort of just inside the door I pictured, yeah.
Yeah, just sort of poking around.
There's a. I'll
Okay,
probably.
everybody's dispersed now, pretty much.
As Esther walks in the door, she just goes, "Mr. Caffey?"
Yep. Any new information then?
Talk to Mr. Harrow. He seems to have got the most of it. I need a drink of tea. I'm sworn off alcohol from now on.
Duncan, I think he's just got a pot brewing, so I'm sure there'll be one ready. What did you find out then, Mr. Harrow?
Well, they were going to the second funeral. Don't ask me what that means, but apparently it was a false alarm. So I don't think we've learned very much. I feel like we need to speak to Duncan about this. But they weren't concerned. They seemed to feel like this was quite normal. I don't know. Maybe Willie has heard of something like this happening in this area. It's certainly new to me.
Matt, could you make an idea roll for me, please?
Okay.
Top right on your sheet. It's not a skill.
While Dane is seeing if he's got an idea, Jemima will also say, and there's definitely no love lost between that priest and old Menzies now. Yeah, he was trying to do something that priest didn't like in the church or by the church or something. I don't know. He didn't want it to. I mean, that's why he ran off. It wasn't because the bells were calling him. It was because I think they were trying to do something without him there. I guess priest managed to talk him down. I don't know. That's the impression I had of it. I'll say that quite quietly.
So I needed a 65 or under, and I rolled a 4.
Oh, nice.
Whoa.
The people were in the square incredibly quickly. If they weren't expecting something to happen.
Okay.
Like the bells rang, the priest went out the door, and as the door opened, there were people walking through the square in funeral gear. So, for some reason, they were ready to go. Unless that's just what people wear around here. But...
and stand at their doors.
Yeah.
So Dane will kind of look a little bit like a moment and say, well, they did say that, but then at the same time, that all happened very quickly, and they were all already dressed, and they were all already primed to head over. It does seem very, very strange, as if they were expecting this to happen. But if they were, then I just wonder why it was cancelled. And it's a false alarm. It's very strange.
It was they didn't invite the priest. He didn't know.
That's true. Yeah, he certainly seemed surprised, didn't he?
It does seem odd having a false alarm for a funeral, and I mean a second funeral like that is even odder. But I did mention it to Duncan, and he seemed certain he wasn't needed there. He said it's quite unusual for the bells to be going off this much.
Can I remember, Jonny? Did we see the other person who seemed awkward, with the family, the little girl? Did I see him or his family on the way up? I might just not remember. That's fine.
Not that you can recall.
Okay. Jemima will probably say, she'll say, I didn't see the other family, the other folks who stood at the funeral either, like Duncan and the priest. Maybe I just missed them, but it's like they're outside of this, whatever it is.
Well, everyone's headed back. I wonder if the priest might be back in the vicarage. We never got a chance to ask him about the drawings, did we?
Something tells me the way he was running up there as well. It wasn't just a fear for, oh, they're going to do a service without me, was it? They definitely know something else here.
I agree. I think I feel inclined to go take a look at the vicarage. Maybe we can get some more information there. I don't know if anyone is interested in joining.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll come along. I can't stay in this pub all day.
Esther wanted to talk to him. I think we should all go.
Esther, are you comfortable joining?
Yes, I think I got carried away for a while there, but yes, I'll come with.
Okay. So the snow continues to fall outside. It's now slightly over the tops of your boots or shoes, but it's now beginning to fall a little slower. So they're quite thick chunks coming down, but slower. So that kind of mist that you get when there's a lot of snow coming has kind of dissipated. And you can see a bit more of a distance now. So you're heading down towards the vicarage. You spot a couple of people walking up or down this street, none of which you particularly recognize.
I think Esther will glance towards the church because she's not sure if the priest actually went back to his house.
The door to the church is closed.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't particularly tell either way. You could be inside with the door closed, or
you don't think that perhaps he's still in the church, or
I'm not sure. I couldn't see very well from the door. There's no harm in knocking on the way past.
Wouldn't surprise me if he's locked the church up now, if he can.
odd to lock a church in a village like this, but
Not if one has that sort of power that's been doing. I'll glance up at its bell. Presumably, is the bell visible from in the tower, or is it like a closed
yes,
tower?
you can see the bell at the top. Yeah.
Is it me, or does nobody else seem to notice?
Definitely, no one but Willie. Is Willie with us, by the way?
Willie is sitting this one out. He's stayed in the pub with a good cup of tea as you left.
Okay.
Well, perhaps we should proceed towards the vicarage then, if you think he's more likely to be there.
Okay. So you head down the street, and you get to the little gate that goes into his nice front garden. The door's closed this time, but there is smoke coming from the chimney.
So I guess Dane kind of feels like he suggested this, so he's going to head to the door and give the door a knock.
Yeah, you hear a sort of movement inside, and sort of something scraping across the floor, and then the door opens a crack, and you see the quite harried face of the priest. Matt, if we could have the priest up again, please. And he's sort of looking through this crack in the door at you, and says, "Oh, the visitors. How can I help?"
The scraping across the floor, did it sound like there was something in front of the door? Was it something scraping right behind the door?
It was something. Yeah, it was certainly near the door. The something that was.
That's a
scraping.
logical implication then. Okay, cool.
Sorry to bother you. You mentioned that we weren't unwelcome here. Given that, I wondered if we might be able to speak to you for a few minutes, if it's not too much trouble.
Sorry to leave you out in the cold, but please just give me a moment.
No problem.
He closes the door, and you hear some movement inside, some rustling of papers, some sort of banging together of some crockery that you imagine from your previous visit he may be moving off the table. And you even hear the sort of, it sounds like he kind of pats down his clothing, and the door opens again. And you obviously recognize the scene from last time you were here, and he says, "Please come in."
While we're heading in, I kind of go in last. I'm just looking around, seeing if anyone is like paying attention to us. Just vaguely paranoid.
There's actually nobody that happens to walk past the front at the time that you enter the house.
Okay, cool.
And once everyone's inside, he closes the door. Is anybody looking around the door based on the noises that you heard?
I would if it didn't seem impolite and he wasn't like ushering us to go have a seat or something.
Okay, he does kind of point to the table in this kitchen dining area. But as you sit, you can kind of get a glance over towards the door. And you spot leaning against the door frame is the like a cast iron fire poker, which you could presume from the sounds that were made, he's maybe sort of quickly dragged over from the fireplace to nearer the door, potentially. He says, How can I help you today? Sorry about that bit of a scene there. Old village families not understanding that not everything here is their property, unfortunately.
Esther sort of turns to him, and she's hopefully using her like fast talk here to sound a bit more encouraging, but I don't know, because she just yelled at him only like 20 minutes ago. Maybe it's not very helpful. But she says, "I'm sorry, but I heard you talking to Duncan when we first arrived, saying that it would be best if we wouldn't stay, and circumstances since then have been very disconcerting, very strange. And I think perhaps you know why. Do you think you could fill us in? It's been very confusing." Should I roll for that? I'll roll.
Yeah, make me a fast talk roll.
Pretty sure I passed that. Let me just check.
Whenever the checks of fast talk are rolled, I always imagine it's just Esther saying it unbelievably quickly. Somehow that's effective.
I have a 65 and I got 39.
Great. He looks a little uncomfortable at the question, and says, "This is it's a strange time for everybody here, and it's just a bit of a shame that you found yourselves stuck here at this time, at the changing of the guard, if you will. I don't know if any of you are from small villages, but when somebody perceived as the head of the village passes, it's a time of flux in a number of ways, and I'm afraid that we've just found ourselves caught in that at the moment."
Does Esther nods and then goes, "Does that have something to do with the strange drawings that were on our doors when we first stayed here?"
I'll nod at Dane at that.
So Dane will kind of get out the drawing and just hold it up to the priest, hand it over.
Okay. Anybody that's paying attention to this, which can be all of you, can you make a psychology roll to see if you pick up on his
My terrible psychology.
body
I rolled-
language and other?
Yeah, I rolled very low, but not low enough.
I did pass it with a 39 against 50.
Okay.
I did not pass.
Did not pass.
Okay. Dane. So he says, I'm not sure what your I mean, that's obviously a cross, but I'm not sure what the relevance is. But Dane doesn't believe in that he, in some way, is not aware of what that is and why you've brought it to him.
Jonny, can we see any of the artwork we're not supposed to know about, kind of visible in the room? The drawings that we.
So they were in like a kind of journal-y book on the bookshelves.
Esther will just question him and go, and you've never seen a cross like this before? Nothing like it? It's and you've never heard of anybody having their door drawn on? Is this a village tradition?
Oh no, certainly nothing like that. No. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of crosses that I've probably seen that look similar to this in some way. Again, Dane thinks that he's not being entirely truthful. But you kind of figure that from the way he said it, there's nothing that's a lie. He's just maybe missing some bits of the truth out instead of actively lying, and probably feeling better about his soul doing it that way than, yeah.
Is it? It must have taken quite a bit of skill to draw something like this. It was very artfully done. Do you know anybody in the village who has this kind of artistic capability?
No, I've seen there's a chap in Thornhill who comes out here sometimes and paints the landscapes, but I think that's probably the closest I've seen to anything of this kind of technical skill.
But I must say, I've heard tell that you yourself occasionally do indulge in some art. I've heard the villagers tell me that you have done some bits and pieces yourself.
Oh, well, I mean,
and that you're not so bad.
In the past, I've dabbled, but there's not that kind of thing inside me anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
You mentioned the changing of the guard. How do you feel about the new guard?
Indifferent, much as I did about the old guard.
What do they
They don't
guard?
seem indifferent to you. Sorry, Esther.
It's okay. Esther probably said it at the same time as you anyway. So.
What was that? Sorry, Skye.
Esther just sort of like just goes, and what were they guarding? Because like she kind of was thinking, oh, the old guard. So this is, and then just the way it's been said kind of clicked in her brain, and she was like, what are they guarding?
Just history, I suppose.
They must have been here a very long time. I mean, I saw the church's very, very old foundations.
Aye, they've been here longer than any other family in the village. Definitely. There's yes, there's a well, I keep the records now in the church of the births and deaths, and the Menzies go back a long way.
Mr. Mr. Menzies doesn't seem to be too fond of Duncan. He seems a bit intimidating towards him. I mean, you heard his exchange when we were outside the church.
I think Jacob's natural setting is intimidating. Probably taught to him by his father, I imagine.
So
Donald was a force to be reckoned with.
Okay. Yeah, Esther sort of just brings this question out of nowhere, so she's expecting it to be a bit disarming. But she goes, so why do they need a second funeral?
Do you want to make another fast talk roll for Esther?
I'm pretty sure I did not pass that one. I got a 70 and I got a 71. So
Oh, he says, well, I think it was turn of phrase. Just maybe for closure. Maybe he's not dealing with it particularly well.
But there was another grave outside the church. Is this a tradition in these parts? I've never seen anything like it. I've traveled to many places.
He looks at the clock on the wall and says, I'm afraid I've got a meeting with one of my parishioners. We'll have to catch up on this again later, I'm afraid. You should go speak to Jimmy and see whether he's able to get you through the snow.
That would be good, yes.
He gets up and opens the door and sort of stands there waiting for you to leave.
Yeah.
Are we able to sort of just, as we're sort of leaving, sort of have a quick glance around without making it sort of obviously snooping, but just sort of looking around and then probably follow it by something saying, "Oh, it is a lovely cottage you have here."
Yeah, nothing has really changed since you were in here the day before.
Okay, so no sort of obvious Necronomicon or anything.
No. That's been thrown on the fire.
Kind of glances at the poker as she's leaving, just like she didn't see it to begin with because she's not as fast as Dr. Wallace. She was a bit like, oh, that was a weird noise, and didn't put two and two together. Then kind of sees it as she's leaving, goes, that's weird.
Unless anyone else is like hanging back, I'll probably try and be last out again. Would a normal way of referring to them be like pastor or like reverend or
vicar or
vicar?
Kind of anything.
Any of the above? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of stop and look at the kind of reverend and just say, like, Reverend, we've seen some really very strange things, nothing like I've ever experienced in my life, nothing that can be explained by science. I know you're not going to tell us what they are, but I'm frightened. I think we all are. And then I'll just kind of walk off, not expecting him to say anything, but if he does, he does.
As once you've kind of turned, if you're literally turning straight away, he pretty quickly responds to you quite quietly and says, stay with Duncan. He'll keep you right.
Okay. I'll kind of just nod as I'm walking away and just be like, and also just start shaking my head. I'll catch up to the other folks and say, he trusts Duncan. But did anyone else notice that it sounded like he had that table in front of the door and maybe that poker or something? He's frightened.
Well, if he trusts Duncan so much, then maybe he should stay with Duncan. Everyone trusts Duncan in this town.
But, I mean, there's only Duncan and the Reverend and the whole village? What is against them?
Let's just do as he suggested and see if we can get a ride out of here.
I'll kick the snow with my boot and go, there's no hope of getting out of here. Not today now. Look at this. We couldn't even walk in this, let alone take the cart.
I mean, even if we get out of the village, we end up in the other one, and then what if the train already was struggling before?
I don't know about you, but I'd rather be in a different village, any other village possibly in the world than this one. But yes, I see what you mean, Dr. Wallace. I don't suppose they keep sleds around here.
He wasn't at all surprised when I said that very strange things have been going on. Not that I would have expected him to be. He knows a lot more than he's talking about.
Well, why would he be surprised? Of course he knows what's happening.
And he knows about the drawings too, or at least something about them. He was definitely not being honest with us there.
Really? Do you think he drew them?
I don't know. I don't know if he drew them, but I think he definitely recognized them. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, makes sense. I wonder why he wouldn't tell us anything. I mean, I guess it's all crazy, but with what we're seeing at the moment, he's trying to, keep us safe, or thinks we wouldn't believe it, or I don't know.
He seems to think we should get out of here. He wants us to speak to Jimmy. Maybe he thinks that's the solution, rather than explaining everything to us.
If he could just pray for divine intervention to melt this snow, we'd be fine.
I don't know if I know where Jimmy is. Does anyone else know where Jimmy lives?
Did we see Duncan going into his house?
You saw Duncan come out of a house, but he said that he was going to speak to the sort of the council as well as speaking to Jimmy. So you're not sure which.
Yeah, Essig as well. Mr. Kilbride did say that we were going to go and talk to Jimmy together. So perhaps before all of this happened, perhaps we can get our day back on track. Let's go and find Mr. Kilbride, shall we?
Okay, back to the pub.
Close the curtains.
So the snow is almost completely stopped now, but there's probably 6 inches on the floor. So you're sort of tramping through back to the pub, and you head in, and Duncan is stood behind the bar, facing away, sort of looking at the bottles behind with a cup of tea in hand. And on the door opening, he turns and says, hello there. Can I get you a cup of tea, perhaps?
Yes.
Willie sat on one of the seats and says, come, join me.
Yes, that would be lovely. Perhaps afterward we could go and speak to Jimmy about getting a ride out of here.
I can take you to Jimmy. I wouldn't. I'm afraid I wouldn't hold your breath today, based on the weather. But
yes, Dr.
we can
Wallace
certainly
thought that might
inquire.
be the case. Well, we can inquire for tomorrow in any case.
Yes, of course.
The snow will have melted by then.
I would imagine that you may struggle for the train today anyway, and perhaps for a place to stay in Thornhill. So.
Yeah. All right. I would love a cup of tea, so I'll sit down next to Willie.
Mm-hmm.
I'll fetch them over in a moment. Willie says, "So did you manage to find anything out?"
Only that everyone in this village is incredibly good at evading questions. They're rather talented, almost practiced.
So we did speak to the vicar, but
Oh, really?
we didn't get a lot out of him. He claims to not recognize the imagery, and he says it's unfortunate timing and there's a change of the guard in the village. But he said he didn't seem comfortable. Jemima, you saw something at the door, right?
Yeah. He seemed like he had the table in front of the door, and I think he had the poker ready when we came in as well. When we knocked on the door, anyway. He's afraid, I reckon. I believe.
Was that what it was? I was wondering why he'd keep a poker by the door. Gosh, we should have asked him. I mean, he must be in dire straits if he's willing to do that.
I don't think he would have been any inclined to respond about that, would he? That's definitely.
Well, perhaps we should be barricading our door too. Not that it seemed to have made a difference these last 2 nights.
Well, if the vicar seems afraid, then I suspect is Duncan's not here, right? Not in earshot.
He's in the kitchen in the back.
Yeah, I'd like be leaning down. I suspect Duncan's in the same whatever group of people, just in much danger potentially. Although he's not, I guess, the head of the church. Something really weird going on here.
Duncan comes out with some tea for you all, brings a pot and some cups and milk and sugar and puts them on the table for you and says, you'll have to excuse me. I'd love to join you, but I've got a couple of things to be on with. So I'll just pop in the back. As always, just knock if you need anything.
All right.
He certainly seems a little more relaxed than he did. He's not sort of frantically running around, and he doesn't look completely at ease, but he's certainly seems in a better mood than he did.
And we kind of lunchtime at this point, or afternoon.
Yeah, probably about midday.
I think before Duncan goes, I think Esther would just say in a sort of tone of concern, well, I'm just wanted to say I'm slightly worried about your vicar. He seemed to be, well, we went to visit him and he had his door barricaded. I think perhaps you should, well, I don't know. He just seems to be in some kind of trouble. And he seemed to trust you, so I thought it would be best to let you know. It's not the kind of thing you usually see in
Right.
villages. With
Yes, I'll
sorry,
yes, I might give
didn't
him
mean
a
to be
call.
nosy. I was just thought
No,
perhaps you
no.
could see him.
No, thank you, Miss Smith, for sharing that with me. So look, if you want to go and speak to Jimmy and I'm not available, it's the house that you saw me leave when we found out the news about Donald Menzies. That was Jimmy's home. So yes, if I'm unavailable, you can obviously get yourselves there and have a word with him.
Okay.
And he disappears off into the back.
Do we know if Duncan's lived in the... He said he's lived in the village his whole life, right? But do we know if he's family here, if he's from here historically? Maybe that's the difference between him and, I don't know.
You don't know that.
I guess I'll vaguely answer Willie, but assuming he won't know either.
No, although there was a mention of somebody when I was talking about tracing back the hang on a minute, and he gets one of his books out from his bag. He says, yes, I was speaking to one of the farmers about tracing back the origin of the words and the names, and he suggested that there's a record held in the church of births and deaths in the village, so you may be able to, I mean, if obviously you could just ask Duncan, but if you wanted that information and he wasn't around, maybe it's worth a look in there.
That could be a really interesting idea. Good thinking, Willie.
I mean, I don't see why we can't just ask him.
But that tells us about the whole village. That might tell us a lot more than just him. We can find out about the Menzies and everyone else too. I
You
mean,
do have a point.
there's other people we've
I've
been
got-
wondering about as well.
I've got a bit of a favour to ask.
Yes?
Um,
Of course, we're all in this together.
if and when you manage to arrange a way out of here, can I come with you?
Of course, we had already assumed that was the case.
I wasn't planning on going back to Thornhill, but now I feel it may be best if we stick together until we're properly out of here.
I think so too.
Do you have any contacts in Thornhill that might be able to help us with transport? I'm a bit.
No, I've just
intimidated.
been making my way around. I don't have such things as a phone number for anybody that I've met on my way. Just names. I suppose if we could find a phone book, I could maybe try and contact somebody. But yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully Jimmy can help us.
The tea, after you've been outside in the cold and had a very sort of upsetting and weird morning, fills your heart with joy. And I'm going to let you regain 1 sanity for this relatively normal sort of half an hour that you're spending. I'm a firm believer that cups of tea restore sanity.
What's our next plan then? Do we go to the church, or do we just speak to Jimmy and try and get out of here and put it all behind us?
Let me just look out the door and see if the church is open.
I think Esther will just turn to Dr. Harrow and go, Dr. Harrow, you seem to have, well, I know you've spent a lot of time in the mountains. Can you perhaps tell if this weather is here to stay, or if you think it'll be gone by tomorrow?
That's you, Dane, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if Dane sort of has a look around outside, you'd have to go outside to have a proper sort of scout about, but you can spot, sort of some blue appearing in small slivers between the sort of dark black that you get from snow clouds, and the wind's picking up, which will obviously sort of push it along. So you think that there may be a bit more snow later today, but you reckon by tomorrow, probably it'll have passed over you.
So I'll just kind of shout inside, I think it's improving. I don't know about today, but certainly tomorrow.
Well, perhaps we should go and talk to Jimmy first then and just arrange something. Or we could, I mean, if anybody wants to go to the church, I know Dr. Wallace looked quite interested. Personally, I'd rather just go and arrange a way out of here.
I would be very curious. Perhaps it's best if we don't all descend on Jimmy anyway. I mean, he isn't going to speak, right? I kind of glance around at everyone.
Well, okay, perhaps Mr. Harrow and I can go and talk to Jimmy.
Fancy another trip to the church, Melvin?
I mean, the last one ended so well. Why not?
I'll look out, because since Dane's the one who's presumably in the doorway or outside, Is anyone about, Mr. Harrow? Anyone up at the church or anything?
I can't
You
see.
don't see anybody up at the church. The church door looks to still be closed.
No, I can't see anybody. The door looks closed, but I don't know if it's locked. Maybe it's worth a try.
Nothing wrong with going in a village church, right?
I mean, he did say, all children of God are welcome, or always welcome, or something along those lines. So
That's if he has control of this place.
Judging by the poker.
We'll be careful.
Good idea. Do you have some self-defense? Yes.
Jemima just looks at you almost confused.
Well, do take care.
Okay, so Melvin and Jemima are heading up towards the church. So as you get through the gate and up onto the path is slightly slippy because it's stone slabs, which have then obviously been snowed on. So if you happen to step in a bit where the vicar or Jacob had stood, you kind of slip a little as you're walking up there. And you get up to the door of the church. Are you just trying the door?
I'll kind of stop and say, Mr. Caffey, keep an eye and an ear out. I'm not sure Mr. Menzies or potentially other people around here might look so fondly and has us snooping around a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, you try the door, and
Yeah.
sort of as he's saying it, look over his shoulder and says, "I don't think anyone's watching right now."
I'll put my ear to the door before I do anything else and see if it sounds like there's anyone inside.
Okay, can you make me a spot hidden roll, please?
Okay. Oh, that's much better than listen, thank God. Yeah, good. I got less than half on that.
Nice. Okay. You push your ear up to the door. You don't hear anything coming from inside. And as you are, sort of right alongside with the door here, you spot what looks like a very faded sort of engraving. Which the doors are quite old anyway, so there's a lot of sort of warps and cracks in the wood and stuff, so you wouldn't necessarily just spot it at first glance, but yeah, you spot that there's something that's sort of purposefully there. I presume you're going to look at it a little more.
Is it in the old stonework or is it
No, it's in the wood.
In the wood. Okay, so it's
not.
not.
So as you're sort of alongside the door, you kind of spot there directly in front of your eye a little bit of something that looks like it's man-made rather than a natural warping.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Go take a look. What is it?
It's a little broken up and some bits of the lines look to be missing or cracked or what have you, but it seems to be the cross design that was drawn on your doors.
I will immediately go, Melvin, look here. It's the same as we saw before.
I mean, it's a cross on a church, but it is pretty much exactly the same, I'm guessing. Then,
yeah. So like all the intricacies of it. Again, so you'd look at some bits of it and you can't spot it, but then you'd look at one little section and you'd be like, "That's that exact bit from."
It's too detailed for it to be a coincidence. Then,
yeah.
But it's got to be the same. It's everything's exactly on it, other than bits that look worn away or destroyed. But yeah,
you said it looked worn, Johnny. It's on wood though, so is it like like a really old piece of wood, or is it quite a new piece of door frame? Does it look like it could be 200-year-old wood?
These doors are pretty old.
Okay.
Yeah. To the point where they are cracked and warped in points, which is why the image isn't sort of pure. When you'd presume that when it was first put on here, it could have been as part of the original door's design,
Mm.
or it's been put on here at some point, and then similar to how a tattoo might sort of stretch and warp over
Yeah,
time
yeah.
as somebody's skin changes, that it's sort of moved around a bit and had bits damaged in it and stuff.
Yeah. I'll kind of look up to Melvin and go, wait, I didn't hear anyone inside. And then I'll get my camera out and I'll be like, I didn't hear anyone. Just give me a moment. I'll try and get my camera set up to take a quick photograph of it, which
Okay.
probably a minute or two. And I'm kind of very awkwardly looking around like, please no one come out of the church.
Nobody comes out of the church.
Okay. I get a photo of the the cross on the door. Of course, none of which we can develop still, which I still find hilarious. But it's all there on film. And then I go, I didn't hear anyone inside. Should we?
I mean, there's no harm in going into a church, is there?
Yeah.
And sort of with that, I suppose we try the handle.
Yep, it is not locked, so the door opens. And you presumably head in?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much checking if anyone's...
Dane and Esther. You head to the house that you saw Duncan come out of yesterday, I presume? The day before, sorry.
I think
And-
he pointed us towards one, so yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you near it, you can hear a voice inside.
We well, is it easy to listen or?
You'll need to, if you want to hear what's being said, you'll need to make a listen roll. It sounds quite upset.
That doesn't include pressing my ear up against the door or anything. It's just sort of.
No. You could listen. You'd need to be quite nearby, but you wouldn't.
We're going to knock on the door anyway, so I guess
Yeah.
it's fine. I just don't want to press my ear up against the door in full.
No.
The good old hesitating before knocking,
Yeah.
Unlike Dr. Wallace, anyhow.
No,
But she has no idea of subtlety.
she does not.
Yeah, I pass. So I got what did I get? 39.
I failed with a 34 for a 20.
Okay. So Dane just kind of hears upset, muffled, semi-shouting at some points. Esther hears a voice saying, Jimmy, please. Look, I know about the weather, but listen, it has to be today. No, it has to be. No. Right, fine. We'll do it ourselves. And then the door flies open, and out comes the father of the little redheaded girl. And he sees you and is taken aback for a moment, and then kind of storms off down the street, leaving the door open. And Jimmy is sat at a table, and he sort of looks up at you both.
I sort of awkwardly knock on the door and go, hello. We were just we were talking to Mr. Kilbride, and he said we should come over and perhaps arrange a passage back to Thornhill at some point, hopefully maybe once the snow has passed. But
he stands and sort of gestures for you both to take a seat at the table.
okay.
Do you close the door behind you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He sits after you have both sat, and kind of holds a hand out, asking you to continue.
Yes. Well, we'd like to get back on our way as soon as possible. So, as soon as perhaps you can send us back up to Thornhill, that would be good. Thank you. tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. At 10 in the morning. Okay. That would be great. Thank you. Yeah. Depending on the weather. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Does that sound all right to you, Mr. Harrow?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best we can do.
He stands and goes over to a teapot and holds it up to offer you tea.
Well, Mr. Harrow, would you like to stay for a cup of tea, or?
Why not?
That sounds lovely. Thank you.
He brings the pot over and brings some milk and sugar and cups and sits and pours everybody some tea. Did you have anything else that you want to do while you're here with Jimmy, or?
I'd probably just make general small talk, but in a sort of like, be like, so, do you do a lot of the work for the farmers around here? With the cart, yeah. Yes. I imagine you have a lot to do. Thank you for going out of your way to help us. Have you lived in the village all your life? Or?
Are you saying you fought?
Oh, when you went away to war, yes, of course.
A sort of almost like a veil drops over his face as he's, going through this.
Yes.
Were there many others from the village with you? I'm sorry to hear that. We saw the memorial, and I hope you're able to get that finished soon.
He takes himself off for a moment. So back at the church, you walk in. Some sort of lanterns are lit around the edges because it's dark today, obviously, with the weather. And there's nobody else in there.
Keeping us in suspense for that.
You're not sure where this book would be kept. You could imagine it might be in the sort of vestibule-y bit. There's a door to another area at the front left of the church.
Yeah. Well, look, kind of my first thinking is because I feel like we're pushing it more and more with intruding in the villagey things when we probably shouldn't be. So other than the front door we came in through, are there any other places? We don't know of necessarily another entrance to the church, although there might be, but are there other like rooms or things we definitely can't see from where we are? There's that vestibule thing you said.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that you can see a door to. There is sort of a balcony area up the top that you can see the stairs to off at the side.
Mm-hmm.
There could be other rooms up there you can't really see from here, but
Okay.
You think actually based on the spacing that there probably isn't, if you see what I mean, like based on just spatial awareness.
Yeah.
So yeah, from what you can see, it looks like it's just that door.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're still kind of in the doorway. I'll turn to like Melvin and be like, do you think we should leave someone to keep watch?
Is that you offering, or do you want me to keep watch, or?
I don't really know. Maybe we could just be quick. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I really want to head in by myself, to be honest.
Let's just both go in and
be quick about it. You're right.
Be as quick as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I will I've kind of got my notebook out now, ready to like scribble things down if I see anything else. And I'm gonna like probably dash fairly speedily for that room then, but also glancing around to see if it seems like there were books anywhere else while I'm going.
There are obviously a number of books around in the church, like the hymn books, and there is a Bible on the pulpit, which is closed. There is nothing else obvious around in the way of books, and all the ones that you see that you presume are hymn books are all pretty uniform in their sort of coloured covers. And so yeah, nothing obvious on your way there.
Okay. I'll kind of be like, shh, when we get towards the door. Jemima's probably very awkward at this. And then be like, trying to listen to see if there's anyone in there, I guess, in that room.
You don't hear anything. And also you would presume that there isn't going to be anybody in there because probably the only person that should be is the priest. So
yeah.
Shall we go for it then? Melvin will sort of say with his hand on the handle.
Yeah, I'll take one like nervous glance back at the main door and then nod.
Yeah, so with that he'll sort of try the handle.
Did you close the front door of the church when you came in?
Yeah.
Okay, you try the handle to this room, and at first you think it's locked because it doesn't budge, and then if you give it a bit more of a shove and it does open. It's just a bit of a sticky door. And you open into this area, and there are a number of books on a bookshelf. And this leads around. There's another door at the back of this area, and a table with some paper and writing implements on, and that's it in here.
Does the door look like it would be an external door or a door to another room?
You don't think it would be external. Based on the position, it might go up to the bell tower.
Okay.
Bird's eye view.
Did you want sort of did you want to look at the books on the shelf?
I mean, I'm here looking for the books, so yeah.
Yeah. So there are some extra Bible copies and some extra hymn books on here, and then there is one sort of shelf width of births and deaths from so and so year to so and so year, and then so and so year to so and so year, and so on. And the one for the whatever time to present is not on that shelf.
Okay.
But there are a couple of books on the table as well, and it may be that the entry is being added.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If Dr. Jemima's sort of looking at the bookshelf, Melvin's probably sort of looking at the ones on the desk then at the same time, I think.
So there is one that is open on the table, has got the entry for Douglas Wallace has been added in, giving his date of death as yesterday. So do you want to look through a bunch of them? Is there anything particular that you want to find?
I think just sort of flicking through, see if anything stands out as odd, which I realise is very vague, but I don't think we had a specific thing we were looking for, were we?
What is the date of the most, like, you said they're in sections. What's the date, the start of the most recent one?
The start of the most recent one is 1892.
Okay, in that case, I'd be like, none of these ones what we're looking for, and kind of look back over to Melvin and be like, is it there?
I say, well, yeah, the
See if we
Look
know
back
any
there.
see if we know any of the names other than the ones we know, like the Menzies. Are there? Is Duncan's family the what's Kilbride? Is that we don't know the name of the priest, do we? The pastor.
no,
You
none of us
do.
are.
You have had his name in passing from Duncan. Do you want to make me an idea
Yeah,
roll
go on.
and see if you would remember?
Go on, then. Jemima might have a better memory than me.
I got 80 and I rolled an 81. On the tip of his tongue.
Which one's an idea roll based off?
Intelligence.
It's top right on your sheet. There's idea. I think it's literally the top right number.
Oh yeah, intelligence. Got it. Hilariously, I managed to fail despite my ridiculously high intelligence. Fair enough.
Okay.
That slipped my mind.
With Melvin's being so close, you think maybe it was a John. And you could guess his age. You might be able to have a stab at a name in there potentially.
So I guess Jemima was in the middle of saying, I don't remember what his name was, but if we could find him too, Kilbride and
John something, or was it? I don't know.
John. Yeah. See, is there a John about the right time?
Do you want to make library use rolls?
Whoa.
Yeah, library use time.
Vescular, all of them.
Unbelievable that it's taken 6 sessions of Call of Cthulhu for a library use roll to be rolled out.
And I failed, and I've got high library use as well. I'm rolling terrible today.
I passed.
Oh, thank
The
God.
normal pass.
Okay. The Kilbride family go back a couple of generations here. And how much did you pass by, Jack?
It was a normal pass. I've got
Okay.
64 and I got 43.
Okay. Unfortunately, there are a couple of Johns born around the same time, so you can't really trace back the priest's lineage. But yeah, the Kilbrides, Duncan is the 3rd generation of Kilbrides mentioned in these books. So while he hasn't been here as long as the Menzies, they've been here, 100 years probably, roughly.
Yeah.
As we kind of spot that, presumably Melvin points that out to me, be like, so it's not like he's an outsider to the version. I wonder why he doesn't fit in otherwise. Although, strange.
Would I be able to tell if that is is he still sort of new, his family, to the village, or is that a sort of average amount of sort of time someone's been there, or?
There are newer and older families, so they're not the newest one.
Yeah.
Still, you don't know any names really of anybody else to be able to say. You couldn't say for certain that everybody who was out this morning going to the second funeral has been here more time than the Kilbrides.
Yeah.
But there are some families listed as having had births here that are newer. So unless they've been here and gone, or died in the war or whatever, then the Kilbrides aren't the newest family.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, what was I going to say? I think it was a good note from chat as well. I should have thought to push the roll. Remember, push for future rules stuff. But not now.
Oh yeah, I probably should have reminded you on that. You can push it if you want. You sure?
No, it's passed. I'll try and remember it for next time. Yeah, so I think Jemima's kind of vaguely satisfied, although a bit annoyed we couldn't remember his name, and looks around the room just to see if there's anything else that's weird, given how weird stuff has been happening. But that's probably a kind of tough ask. Like any books that seem unusual to her that would, or anything else. I guess looking for more symbols carved in things as well, perhaps.
I mean, there are symbols in things,
Yeah,
but it's a church, so you know, if you'd seen the one on the door and it hadn't been drawn on your door, it wouldn't have seemed weird for you to see that there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there isn't anything here that seems out of place.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. She's kind of more clutching at straws. Like, there must be something strange about this place with all the weird things that keeps happening when. And then I glance up at the door towards the bell and just kind of stare at the door for a second.
I think Melvin maybe seeing that sort of goes, do we dare go check the bell? I mean, did we see anything wrong with the gramophone when that was doing its oddness?
No, you're right. We didn't, but the bells. And then I'll kind of just think, if we go up there, I'll say, if we go up there, though, there's only one way. If someone else were to come up, we would.
I mean, there's only one way, well, other than going up there. Someone's come in here. We're already trapped. Do we trap ourselves more?
Can I roll for bravery? What is Melvin doing? Is he just standing there questioning? Are you kind of moving towards the door, or are you completely non?
I think he's sort of waiting to see
No.
what Jemima does as well. I think it's like it just feels like kids when they're sort of like
egging each
both
other on a
sort of-
bit.
Yeah.
Neither of us are used to like sneaking around and doing stuff like this, and we're both just like, yeah. Jemima is, I think, overwhelmed with curiosity because none of this makes any sense to her. And she really wants to find out what's going on, so she kind of does start walking towards the door.
Okay. Are you going through the door?
Unless Melvin says or does anything to stop me, then yes.
No, I think Melvin's gonna, now that she's sort of heading towards, he'll go towards her as well. They're in it together now.
You open the door, and in front of you is a spiral staircase.
We should be quick about this, and I kind of start hurrying up the spiral staircase.
Yeah, Melvin will follow.
And at the top of this is basically a trapdoor to go up into the bell chamber.
He will sort of say, "Are they going to see us if we sort of go up there? Do you remember how visible it would be from the village?"
Yeah, that's a good point. What did it look like from outside, Johnny? Was it like completely open, or was it like a?
You can see the bell. So, but if you came out on the back side of the bell, then you wouldn't be visible really behind the bell unless somebody had really good eyesight and saw your feet.
Certainly, like opening the trap door wouldn't be very conspicuous.
Not massively visible, no.
I guess maybe both of us, but I'll kind of just push it gently and be like, just a bit, and we'll just
stick our heads out.
Yeah, stick our heads out and look, I guess, through the trap around the trap door.
Okay, Dane and Esther, do you have anything else that you want to raise with Jimmy, or are you going to finish your tea and leave?
I think we'll probably finish our tea and make our excuses. I'll see you tomorrow then.
Yes, thank you so much for the tea. We will hopefully see you in the morning. Take care.
Can you make psychology rolls for me?
Oh gosh, that's never going to happen. Wait a second.
Never say never with a D100, Skye.
Oh, I needed 50.
Oh my god!
I got
Wait,
48.
no. Wait. Is that 700 or is that 7?
0
If it's 007, it's 7.
Yes, I did it.
Nice.
I have a 10 and I got a 7.
Wow. Told you not to say never. So neither of you think that he is lying or leading you astray or has any ulterior motives. As far as you're concerned, if the weather is fine tomorrow at 10 a.m., he will be there with his cart to take you to Thornhill.
He seems like a tragically nice guy. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we out in the snow now? Close the door.
Yes.
And I just turn to Mr. Harrow and go, that broke my heart a little. It's well, it's not easy to forget the but we live every
Yeah.
day, and sort of it's clear that he lives every day with it.
Yeah, the poor lad.
Mm.
Well, I think he'll be true to his word.
Absolutely, yes, he very much seems to be that kind of person.
Perhaps we
Shall
should
we- Yes,
see how
go
Melvin
back.
and Jemima are getting on.
Well, that might be a good idea. Although perhaps it would be best if we didn't draw any attention to them.
Okay. Well, we could wait for them in the pub.
That might be better. I just think too many people going in there would probably attract some kind of attention. Did you hear someone that did you hear that gentleman what he was saying before he went into Jimmy's house?
No, I didn't catch it. Did you?
Yes. Well, perhaps we can go back to the pub and I'll fill you in.
Okay.
Back in the bell tower. There is nothing but air and a bell.
I'm not climbing out completely, but I want to get like a look at the bell. Does it look at all weird? I know what the answer's going to be already.
No, nothing strange.
Oh. I'll kind of turn to Melvin and be like, but I guess maybe you're right. It's just like the gramophone.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm no expert on church bells, but there doesn't seem anything unusual about it. Maybe we should get out of here before someone spots us.
Yeah, maybe.
What you do spot as you are sort of re-maneuvering yourself back down now that a little light has come in, because that staircase was actually reasonably dark, is a chalk drawing on the inside of the trapdoor.
Ooh. Is it the same?
The same design.
Okay. On the underside of the door.
On the underside of the door.
The sort that would definitely be noticed by someone else who came to ring the bell.
Yes. Yeah, if somebody flung this open, it would be incredibly obviously there.
Yeah, okay. Does it look fresh? I mean, I know it's difficult to tell, but it's not been wiped off at any point.
Do you want to try and... yeah, it comes straight off on your finger.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that check?
No check. It basically you just touch it and there's chalk on your hand, so it's
okay. So yeah,
pretty fresh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just return my finger to Melvin and be like, "Someone's just done this. Only one person's been up here recently that we know of."
Why would it be on? This just doesn't make any sense. Why would it be underneath the cellar on our doors?
Maybe it's what causes all this. Maybe this is what's causing that the weird warping thing, or the all the strange dreams we've been having. It's all related to these symbols that have been drawn on with chalk. The same has happened here. Somehow this bell is being made to do this because of this symbol, maybe. While I'm up here still kind of with a bit of light as well, I did want to check the bell. The pull for the bell is up here, correct?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Just thinking about that.
Well, let's just wipe it off then, and then.
No. I'll be like, no. Someone will know we've been here. Do you start doing that when you say it out of curiosity?
I think you might
wipe.
Go to reach
Yeah.
for it.
I'll kind of stop you when you've half wiped, like. And then I'll just be like, let's get out of here, and kind of start half panicking, running down the stairs.
Yeah, panic's probably got to Melvin as well after this, and they're both probably.
We're both in way over our head. Like,
Yeah.
do you mind running off at the moment you did your like wiping, and just made us both just go like, "Nah!" down the stairs. Mhm. Yeah, we both like barrel down the stairs, I think, and out.
Okay, you're just heading back to the pub?
Assuming we meet no one on the way. I mean, I'm definitely slowing down before we leave the church and looking like we were just having a quiet contemplative moment in the church rather than had been snooping around.
Yeah, again, there's a couple of people that you see walking around. Nobody pays you much mind.
Mhm.
And back in the pub, probably just after Dane and Esther, I think. And Willie is not around. And neither is Duncan.
I would like to point out that when we come back through the doorway that Jemima is like bright red faced and like wide eyed, and she looks like very kind of disheveled, surprisingly so. I imagine what does Melvin look like?
Yeah, he's probably looking quite shaken by it as well. Again, I think their panic probably sort of fed off each other. like again, like when kids are sort of, sneaking somewhere they shouldn't be, they end up getting like scared. They end up scaring each other a bit. So
Yeah.
I think as you come in, Esther is probably like turning to like Miss Harrow and just going, we left Willie behind. Where do you think he went? Do you think he went upstairs? He did say that he wanted to stick with us.
That's true. Maybe he wanted some time to himself. I'll check his room.
Okay, I think that would be best. It's best if we all, kept an eye out for one another. I'll turn to the other two and go, so how was it?
Fine.
about as fine as everything else here.
So not fine.
No. Really.
I'll sit down now and be like looking around way too nervously, and then be like, all fine. We had a snoop around somewhere we shouldn't have gone. We found a book. Mr. Caffey found. Yeah, you go ahead.
Mr. Kilbride's family. I think he's the third generation in the village, which I had a look through, and it didn't seem unusual. Nothing stood out why he would be any different to anyone else here. The Menzies obviously went back generations. We had a look in the bell tower.
Yeah. There was another chalk cross drawn up there. It's not just us. Well, I don't think it's just us. It was on the underside of the trapdoor to the tower, the top, just like the trapdoors here.
Matt, no sign of Willie upstairs.
Freshly drawn.
Dane is kind of coming down the stairs mid-conversation, maybe catches the tail end of this.
Yeah. If you're like away for a moment, I'll just kind of repeat that last bit so you hear it because I'm saying it quietly. Exactly the same as the other cross. The other crosses. Oh, and I saw the same cross actually, carved in the wood of the church door frame. Old carving. It was slightly worn away. I think I'm happy for Jemima to make this kind of leap. Maybe from one of the other changing of the guards. Remember, the priest said it, and all this has happened now during the funeral. Perhaps that one's old because it was the previous or one of the previous funerals, and they have some sort of strange ritual they do whenever that happens.
Maybe the symbol isn't about us. How would they know that we would have seen the basement symbol and the symbol in the church? Yeah, like you say, maybe it's related to this second funeral.
I'm not sure anyone else is. I think Jemima just kind of trails off.
Mr. Harrow, did you see Willie?
No sign of him at all.
Is he in the back? Esther will go through to the kitchen and have a look and call out, Willie, You hear?
Nothing.
Um,
The door to the residence is slightly ajar.
okay. Yeah, Esther goes over and sort of like knocks loudly on the door. It probably opens as she knocks it and goes, Willie? Or Mr. Kilbride?
Yeah, as you knock, it kind of swings open with a slight. So the rest of you will have heard Esther shouting and not getting a response.
I probably wouldn't have moved because I would assume they're not there and Esther's going to come back in a moment.
Yeah.
Esther's sort of pretty sure that Willie said he was going to stay in the pub, so was kind of put out by this. So I'll probably have a look inside, just like around the door. And just go, I'll call back and go, does anybody else think it's weird that Willie's not here? I'm sure he said he was going to stay here.
Is he in the back?
No, there's no one in the back.
Did you check the bathroom, Dane?
No, let me have a look.
You would remember the door was open to the bathroom, so you could presume he wasn't in there.
Okay. No, he's definitely not there. Perhaps him and Duncan have gone out for something.
Willie said he wouldn't leave, though.
Perhaps with Duncan he would feel comfortable. I'm not sure.
Perhaps.
It is strange.
He did say, Duncan said he might go visit the pastor. Maybe they both went.
That's true.
I don't know. He seemed to be. Well, I mean, he was suggesting how we could look up things about Duncan and stuff. I'm not sure how. Well, anyway.
Jonny, could was the door to Willie's room open or anything? Or was it locked but just no response?
The door to his room was open.
Okay. Just wondering if there were any belongings, any of his stuff still there, kind of thing, or whether it didn't look like he kind of up and left.
Some of his stuff is still there. You did notice that his outdoor coat was gone, so
Okay.
it's reasonable for him to have gone out, or for somebody to have made it look like he's gone out.
So
Stop, Johnny, stop.
I guess I wouldn't raise that to the group because there's nothing strange about that. I think if everything had gone, I'd have probably said something, but okay.
Well, I suppose if he's just gone out, I'll probably go to the window and have a look out and see if we missed him when we were in the square or something. Try and see if there's anybody coming up the road.
Can you all make listen rolls, please?
Yeah, I passed that. I have a 70 and I got a 69.
Yep, got under half.
I needed 20, I got 40, so no pass here.
Okay.
No pass either. With a
Okay.
41.
Esther and Jemima, from the direction of the residence, hear. Can you make sanity rolls, please?
Immediately jump up, regardless of the result of the sanity roll.
No.
Hey, I
No.
passed. Given
You
that,
passed.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did not pass.
given that I've passed,
If you've passed, lose 2 sanity. If you failed, lose 4 sanity.
Oh, no.
how's that very little sanity you have remaining going, Esther?
I have 31 sanity. 31. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
And I think we'll leave
This
it there.
is terrible. Oh no.
I also failed.
You didn't
Oh,
hear
no,
it. You didn't hear
didn't
it.
hear
No,
it.
you failed your listen roll, so you're
Oh,
fine.
fantastic! Oh, happy
Yeah.
Oh,
days.
you're
It's always the
Dane's
wonderful
fine.
pollution in Cthulhu of just not perceiving the cosmic horror at all. You know,
You're what- you're
look,
one
it's fine.
You're one
cancelling
lucky
headphones with
mountain
you.
man. That's all I have to say. That's gonna haunt my nightmares tonight.
So there we go. I hope you've all enjoyed that, if that's the right word. And if anybody wants to give any comments or questions, then please put them in the chat, and Matt can put them on screen for us. Meanwhile, I'll do some promo recaps. So there are links to social media, Patreon, and Discord below, as well as Twitch if you're on YouTube, or YouTube if you're on Twitch. Tuesday nights on Twitch, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Wednesday nights on Twitch, Simba Room. And the first Saturday of every month is a different one shot each month. On the 1st of May, it's going to be the GM-less system Fiasco. And I think that's everything covered for that. I enjoyed that. I hope everybody else did.
Damn it, Johnny! I was so happy about getting that listen roll. Yeah, succeeded. Yeah. Oh, I feel so good about succeeding.
Oh, this is one of my specials. How many Cthulhus would Cthulhu who if Cthulhu could who Thuls?
Only 7
Oh no.
7
at least.
at
Well,
least.
that's probably technically true. I'd imagine it's at least 7.
Yeah.
I think perhaps that was the most awkward cup of tea I've ever had in my life. Oh, Esther's definitely ever had in her life.
You seem like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel bad that
He was a
when
lovely
we
guy.
raised the war with
Esther
him,
was-
he was having a great day.
Esther was just
Yeah.
drinking her tea and like trying to hide her tears. Just like, oh god.
I love the
Bells ring.
comparison.
TARDIS, I figured it all out.
Yeah, that was when
Thanks,
Saul
Jack.
made a comment about it being
Time
warp
and space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
time and space. So
I love the scene with the two of us, like the two groups, us and the of the church, and you guys just like having a cup of tea.
Jacob and Melvin's uncle should get together. That'd be awful.
that would be like how do they defeat Cthulhu is to get the bigger sort of evil to sort of stop them. That's how they do it.
Yeah. For any non-Brits wondering why everyone is offering tea at every opportunity, I can confirm that this is exactly what most of us do when things get awkward. John's correct. It is. Anytime you want to celebrate, mourn, like either end of any spectrum of emotions, it's a cup of tea.
Yeah, or in the middle. Sometimes you just want to relax and there's nothing particularly extreme. Then it's probably a cup of tea.
Yeah. I think Melvin has a 70 in apology, so it's probably fine.
Was that we were in the church?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you definitely get away with things just by apologizing, especially in Britain. Like, if somebody's apologizing to you, it just makes you uncomfortable. So you could just apologize your way out of anything because they're just like, it's fine, just leave me alone. Stop it. Stop making me feel bad that you feel bad.
And then they'd probably offer him a cup of tea.
How much sanity is too low? Probably
been
about one under where Esther is, I'd imagine. It's getting pretty bad for it. How much sanity has Esther lost today? I think that's it. I think it's
4.
just that 4.
Yeah, we didn't have
I
much.
lost it in the beginning.
No. So
No.
she's all right at the moment.
All right. I need a very big cup of tea. Yeah.
I really
those
thought
whispers
you were.
weren't nice.
I really thought you were going to catch us out there, Johnny. I was so expecting Melvin and Jemima both be in the room doing a terrible job of spying, and then the door goes behind us, and we're just there like.
I was hoping that there could be some, a scene that would creep you out of Dane and Esther sort of sneaking into the church behind you, just hoping to not be seen or heard by anybody else, but actually ending up scaring you.
That would
I
be perfect.
know. That would have been fun. I think Esther's spy senses were kind of like, that is not good espionage.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what we did was not good espionage.
no, she was very worried about letting you go and do that.
Cool. That's it from the chat. So thank you everybody for watching and joining in and sending messages and things. And we will catch you all next Monday if you're not here on Tuesday and Wednesday for the other shows, but you should be. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.